welcome back to the channel. So today what I'm going to be talking about is how to install some floating shelves. These are very popular in design circles these days, so we're putting them into this house that we're working on right now. In terms of the shelf construction, shout out to Everyday Builds. I basically copied a lot of their design, made a couple of modifications to it to suit my own purposes. Specifically, what we've got here is a plywood sandwich. You can see it's walnut plywood, and then it's been edge trimmed with solid walnut, and making this little T detail here like this to bring it all together. So specifically to put these shelves up onto the wall, what we're using is a 1/2 inch threaded rod. We're drilling a 7/16 inch pilot hole into the wall itself, and then threading this rod in, and then drilling matching holes into the shelf, and then sliding it on board. There are a couple of tricks and details to this to make it work really well, and that's what I'm going to cover in this video. The first thing we need to do is to drill a pilot hole into the walls. For that, what we've done is we've got a piece of tape up here, and then if you look very closely, you can see that we've marked the tape at each of these locations where we're going to drill a hole. Obviously using a level to make sure that it's perfectly level, and using a magnetic stud finder to locate the studs themselves. It is worth noting, make sure you know what's going on inside your wall before you start drilling holes into it. In this particular section of wall actually is the home run for all of my electrical. From up above on the second and third floor, it all comes down through this wall. So I wanted to make extra sure I knew exactly where those wires were and exactly where the studs are, because the last thing you want to do is be putting a hole into the wall and hitting a bunch of live electrical wires. So just, take the appropriate precautions, and if you're not sure, then obviously don't drill into the wall. So here we are locating the studs on the wall using the magnetic stud finder. It just grabs onto the screws in the drywall. You want to make sure that you're dead set in the center of each of your studs. And we're using a level to make sure that the holes that we drill are all exactly level with one another. Drilling the holes in the wall, it's really important that they stay very square to the wall, both vertically and horizontally. So here I'm using a speed square just to make sure that the drill is at exactly a 90-degree angle to the wall. These are 7/16 pilots that works for the 1/2 inch threaded rods that we're using. Just cleaning up any of the excess so that the shelf is going to be able to fit neatly up against the wall when we're done. And cleaning out the debris. To put the rods into the wall, what we're doing is just jamming 2 nuts together on the end of the rod. We do that just with an adjustable wrench holding one, and then the impact driver locking them together. Then you can literally drive it into the wall just like a regular bolt. Obviously just making sure that you are as square to the wall as you can be given the pilot hole that you drilled. We're aiming for a 7-inch depth here, given the size of the shelves that we were working with. Once you're done, then you just reverse the process and back the nuts right off of the threaded rod, and you're left with just the rod sticking out of the wall. Now you get to see your work. In this case, it's not quite level, so we're going to bend it into position. In this case, we're just using a pipe clamp that I had laying around. It's about the right size. Put it on there, you just pull straight down. You'll feel it when it starts to wiggle. And just be gentle with it, because you're only trying to do this once. Now we want to make sure that each of the rods are completely parallel. And to do that, what I'm doing is taking measurements up against the wall and then confirming that same measurement out at the end of the threaded rod. And then I will bend the rods horizontally to get them to be parallel. You can see here, just checking with the square, it's not quite where it needs to be. So that same trick with the pipe, just slip that pipe onto there and then bending it horizontally. The horizontal bend is a little bit trickier just because you don't have as much meat on either side of that rod inside the stud, so you really want to be gentle with it when you're doing the horizontal bend. And just double checking our results. Good to go. Here I'm just throwing a little bit of electrical tape on top of each of these threaded rods. I'm going to set the shelf on top of it, and I don't want the threading on the rod